So good evening, everyone. It's Lottie here, and this is one of the lives that I do for free on a Tuesday, the fourth Tuesday of every month, and just talking about things that I'm really interested in and talking to couples about things that might be useful for them to hear and get some background on, but also to be able to go forward in their relationships. Just a heads up that I won't be doing a live in April. But I will be doing a recording. So this is part 1 of Infidelity, and I'm going to be doing part 2 in April, but it will be a recording. It won't be a live, just to let you know that. So we're going to start off a little bit differently tonight instead of going straight into the subject. And the subject is actually what's the drive towards infidelity within a relationship? And I'm going to start off differently tonight. I want to talk about trust first of all and where that takes us to. So I'm going to read some things out here. This is really fundamental for me because I believe that one of the core values of myself is being able to be trusted or trustworthy. And I think when we are looking at ourselves as an individual, what is our value system, which can take us to a place of not exceeding that if we really believe that that is a value of ours. And for me, trust, trust for me is one of them, but also integrity is very much in the forefront of that as well. So let me just read some things out to you because this is something that I really truly believe in. So trust is the one thing that changes everything. It affects every individual, every relationship, every family, every team that you've ever been in, every organization, every nation, economy, and our civilization. It is the one thing that, if removed, can destroy the most powerful government, the most successful business, the most thriving economy, the most influential leadership, the greatest friendships you've ever had, the strongest character, and of course, the relationships that you are in, your deepest love. That's how strong that the trust, if it's eroded, can take us to a place of mistrust. On the other hand, if developed, trust has the potential to create unparalleled success and prosperity in every dimension of our human existence. Yet it remains the least understood, the most neglected, and the most underestimated aspect of all time. And when I'm talking about infidelity, I'm also talking about digital stuff as well tonight, so we can have an impact of that mistrust of who we're speaking to as well. So trust can impact us 24/7, that we live in the digital age and 365 days of the year. It underpins and affects the quality of every relationship, every conversation, every communication, every work project we've ever worked on, every business venture we go into, and every effort in which we are engaged in. It changes the quality of every present moment and the trajectory and outcome of every future moment in our lives, both personally and professionally. So I'm talking about personally tonight, but it affects all of us in different ways. Contrary to what people believe, trust is not a soft, elusive quality that you either have or you don't have. Rather, I believe trust is a pragmatic, tangible, and actionable asset that you can build much faster than you really believe. Aligning yourself with your beliefs, your moral compass, and your authenticity can be learned. In the world that we live in, we've created a low trust environment, especially in relationships. I believe we have the ability to establish, grow, and restore trust, not only for personal lives, but also for our interpersonal well-being. However, unless we invest in the radical honesty from our authentic self, we will continue to do white lies to gain what, I wonder, habitual brain pathway of low trust relationships. Trust is the key leadership competency for living a full, developed, authentic, and honest life, which can be aligned to others, developing a full relationship, better work ethic, and much closer friendships. So think about the stats that I read a little while ago and I mentioned before in one of my lives, is we actually tell white lies 14 times a day, and they are so random that we don't think it actually matters. So we can lie about, yes, the shop was busy. No, I didn't get any bread. The parking was horrendous. Those shoes only cost 90 quid. And all the things that we're saying is, when the shop was busy, it may not have been, but we were daydreaming or thinking of something else or thinking of someone else. The parking was horrendous. It might not have been. We're telling these little white lies as we go along in our relationships. Why? My question would be to a couple, why are we telling these lies as we go along? These may not be true, but they are just narratives we tell ourselves, because in the habitual cycle of white lies, there is no color of a lie. It's just a lie. And this is when we can start telling lies in other ways if we find that we're getting away with the silly things that we tell lies about. This brings me to affairs, which is what we're talking about tonight. Why do affairs continue to happen, and definitely throughout history? It is about the person you're with. Is it about the person you're with, or is it about yourself and the need for aliveness? Why do we engage in affairs? Is it a subconscious desire to fulfill unmet needs, or is it simply the allure of a secret liaison? I know that when I become very vulnerable in situations, part of me it instinctively doesn't trust anyone, and I mean literally anyone. It radiates out and it incorporates many people. This is the child part of me, keeping myself safe. So when I talk to couples, we've got to make sure that with you, we've got to go into that inner child work to find out where these lies have come from. What did you need to protect yourself from? And why are you continuing to do that as an adult now? Years ago, I spoke to someone about trust, and they said you either have it or you don't. I disagree with that. Trust is something you build from your value system. It is a somatic process that is part of your DNA, who we are as a person. You can increase trust if you have the high impact on your lives as an individual, both in the quality of your life and in the results you achieve. If we believe there's no hope for trust, then we're living in a different dimension. Trust equals true to yourself. So what is trust? Rather than giving a complex definition, there was a guy in America, the CEO of General Electric. His name is Jack Walsh. And I love what he said. He said, you know it when you feel it. Simply put, trust means confidence. And the opposite to trust is distrust, which is suspicion. And this is where we're talking about affairs. This fits nicely into this topic, because if there's suspicion, we sense something is happening, but we're not quite sure what it is and we can't put our finger on it. But there will be a sense about the relationship that something's misaligned. You know it when you feel it, but you don't know what it is. When we trust people, we don't question their integrity, their agenda, or their capabilities. It often comes down to their track record. We've all had experiences that validate the difference between relationships built on trust and those that aren't. So I want you to take a minute right now and think about someone with whom you have a high trust relationship with. It could be a partner, a friend, a co-worker, a sibling, or a parent. What's the relationship like? How does it feel being in a high trust relationship? How well do you communicate? When I'm with couples, these are the important questions to consider. Do you feel safe with this person? Do you feel significant enough? Are you constantly being told one thing but feeling another? Your body and mind cannot align with conflicting information. Now think of someone with whom you have a low trust relationship with, whether at home or at work. What's that relationship like, and how does it feel? How do you communicate with them? Does this conversation flow easily, or do you feel like you're constantly walking on eggshells, being misunderstood and not sharing who you really are? The difference between high and low trust relationship is palpable. In a high trust relationship, you can say anything wrong and people will still understand you. In a low trust relationship, you can speak really precisely, but your words will be misinterpreted. Imagine the impact of increasing the trust. The trust is important personally and professionally for your relationship right now. It will be likely transform how you communicate and connect with each other. I encourage all couples to periodically ask yourself, am I withholding information that should be shared with my partner? Are you keeping a small secret at work that excites you? Or perhaps liking something on social media, but feeling a little bit guilty afterwards? Are you being fully transparent and authentic, or are you second guessing yourself? When considering trust and affairs, this is what I call the second wave relationship. When an affair happens, the affair partner needs to start the repair process, and that repair must come from consistency, authenticity, and behavior. Keeping vigil, learning how to interact in ways that builds trust and avoid behaviors that destroy relationships is critical. So sometimes a relationship can have an affair within it, and it's ended, and then there will be little remnants that are carrying on. We're building trust within a therapy session, and there's a text that may be just answered, or there will be a phone call that feels like you want to give an explanation why you've ended the relationship, that you've decided to work on your marriage. These are still micro affairs going on from the main affair that's happened, and this can critically damage the relationship which you're trying to build up. The trust actually falls down. I'm not saying you go back to relapse, you're probably lapsing along the way, but what we've got to do is try and avoid that. So behavior matters. The truth is every relationship you have, personally or professionally, impacts everything you say and do. You can say you love someone, but unless you demonstrate that love through actions, your words are meaningless. You can say to somebody at work, you want to negotiate a win-win process, but unless your behavior shows sincerity, you will come across as insincere. Trust is built through actions, and it's through actions that we truly demonstrate our value and our intentions. So we establish that trust within a relationship as an opportunity to grow with transparency, but also authenticity and personal radical honesty, what I call living real. Living real is a wonderful way to live. So the authentic you, telling the truth, you'd never have to look behind you. You never have to worry about somebody second guessing you. You never have to sit in this place of being found out or imposter syndrome. So with that in mind, let's talk about affairs. Working as I do on affairs, trust is the underpinning of the work. The other process for working with affairs is the why. Why did this happen? And fundamentally, if we can't find out why this happened, the inevitability that it might happen again is low-ish, depending on the remorse. But actually, unless we find out why and finding out which sort of affair it is, then the possibility is a little bit higher to be able to do it again. Also saying that, I want to add that the boundaries within infidelity are very important. As the person who hasn't had the affair, the boundaries need to be really fundamental so that actually there is no wiggle room for this to happen again. So this is fundamental to the recovery. What I want couples to do is stop, pause, and reflect on the why. And this might take a while. We don't automatically know why we did it. But be honest with yourself. Was it lack of desire within the relationship? Was it the family overload? Was it entitlement? Was it emotional connection overwhelm for the other person that's come into your life? I can't believe that I know them so well. This is limerence. Neglect of yourself and your partner. The opportunity for a cup of tea syndrome, that you've just met innocently. Your subconscious is not thinking about going to have an affair with somebody, but it transpires that that might have been their agenda, or you both consent to it. Seeking validation, unmet childhood needs, and what I call playing the shadow side behaviors. I've been a good girl for so long, or I've been a good man or boy for so long, all of my life in my family of origin. I just felt like I needed to escape. So there's many reasons of the why, and we need to work out why this happened. So let's look at what affairs take place and what do they look like. So let's look at types of affairs. We can have emotional affairs. Emotional affairs in my clinic sometimes feel like they don't want to end. If people are found out from an emotional affair and it has to end immediately because they want to stay in the family of origin place, stay in the relationship, okay, it's hard to let that other person go. The emotional attachment is so strong within that relationship that's been created, it can be quite hard to let that go. So that needs to be negotiated within the therapy of an email or something sent to the other person to say, I'm going to concentrate on my relationship. I'm going to have to let you go. And that can be really painful because no one says I regret an affair. They regret hurting so many people along the way. Then we've got a situational affair. So that can be a work colleague, a situation where you find yourself in being with somebody on a long basis. You're there every day. You're chatting, what we call the cup of tea syndrome, being with them all the time. And then a spark, something starts that spark up for both of you in different ways. And then the affair can start. Then we've got a digital affair, which is what we were going to mainly talk about tonight. We have the fantasy of never meeting anybody and being able to be who we want to be, and that could be in any way, shape or form. And it is so intoxicating knowing that you can say things that actually will not be known by the other person. You can be it's what they call a fantasy in a box. And the possibilities of being able to do that is so much more now. The opportunity to go on your phone, to text somebody very quickly, to send pictures and images to each other, that tantalizing, that intensity of it, and not really having a commitment to it, apart from the intensity you get from that sexual overload that feels so good. So what we're talking about there is the dopamine effect, and feeling alive within that relationship. Then we've got romantic affairs. Okay, so there's 9 altogether, but I'm only doing a few tonight. The romantic affair is something that might go parallel along with your relationship. This gives you the opportunity to invest in someone else on a romantic level. And that might be taking them out to dinner, flowers, something that you may or may not be doing in your original relationship, but it feels like there's something parallel that runs along it. So you might have the practicalities and the safeness of the family on this side, and you might have the romantic side on that side. But they in conjunction with each other, they aren't supposed to meet, but actually that can go on for years. Sometimes we find out at somebody's death that there's been 2 families going on along at the same time. So what are we doing in relationships when we talk about being able to be in the digital world, the opportunity, the immediacy of it, the ease of it is so at our fingers. You know, there's a phone in your hand, it's there all the time. And the opportunity to do that. And when I talk about transparency and trust, is then when there's an infidelity within the relationship, the phone and the technology has to be handed over. You cannot build the trust if you're not willing to give up your phone. And our phones are an extension of our brain and our fantasy and our thought, and all of that inside our head is actually put into our phone. And when somebody says, can you let me have a look at your phone, it feels like a massive violation. The violation has already happened. The infidelity is already in that relationship. So we have to give up the technology. Some people will, some people won't, but it erodes the relationship when that trust is not there. So when we talk about relationships in the first place, we have 3 flavors of it. We've got bonding, lust, and love, which always says to me that we can have different relationships at different time with different people. But should we? If we're saying that we're in a relationship and we have got what we need, okay, we are always looking for that unmet need, that family of origin, that we didn't get the love that we thought that we could, should, or we were neglected in some way, shape, or form. So that gives me the when we're talking about bonding, somebody that you'd have your children with, we lust after somebody else, and love would be the romantic side of it. So we have opportunities to invest in more than one person. I'm always interested in polyamory. So the polyamory scene is very much about everybody knows everybody and everybody knows what everybody's doing. But interestingly enough, there's cheating going on within the polyamory community, because that's the aliveness. Everybody knowing about it all doesn't make it as alive as if not knowing about each other. So we have that distinct, again, lust that goes outside of the relationship, because it's a liaison, it's clandestine, it's different, and nobody knows about it. So just to recap, what we're seeking sometimes in a infidelity is meeting unmet need. We might be thinking about mortality. Is this it in the relationship that I'm in, that this is what I'm getting? Intimacy and no sex, or no intimacy at all and no sex. What does this mean for me in the life that I'm leading? And a lot of people say, I'm not dead yet. Entitlement. I have sometimes couples come to me with entitlement. You know, I work hard and I want to play hard, and didn't realize the impact of this, you know, the overload of children, the overload of whatever it might be, job, career. That's for both couples. Okay, it's not exclusive, it's both couples can feel overload. We're very good at practicality. When our relationship's not going very well, we have a very clean house, we have really organized children, we have things that we do outside. So we organize friendship groups, we're around people all the time, more than we're on our own. And we need to be mindful of that, making time for each other and finding out where we are with each other. So that's just a little sort of like a guide to the types of affairs that can be out there, and noting that the digital affair is the most dishonest of them all, because it's the opportunity that it's there all the time, it's available to you. And I do believe that actually the fantasy of someone just being in that square box, that nothing will happen to it, nothing will come out of it. That person is just in that box. Then I'm not meeting them, I'm not seeing them, only on that digital platform. And actually, I'm finding lots of couples are getting that explosion of the person coming outside of the box and phoning their partner. So this is real stuff, real hurt, real in the moment. I think Esther Perel talks about it. It's like, it's seeing it happening live right in front of you as you either read the messages or you get a phone call telling you that actually this is what's been happening with your partner. So this is the palpable somatic pain that someone feels. It is a death. Yeah. So the grief cycle will take place straight away because the shock is so overwhelming that this can happen to us in this relationship is quite unbelievable. I also want to mention about micro affairs because we are, as individuals, have our own personality. We are an I before we're definitely a we. And the way we conduct ourselves whilst we're choosing to be with a partner, we have micro affairs. I just wanted to mention this as well, because it feels like they're not much, but they can be for one partner or another. So flirting. So flirting, I see flirting as another language, a way to actually have a vocabulary, have a connection. But if you're in partnership with somebody, would that be a micro infidelity? Would that feel like it was a step too far? And I do sometimes, my couples will say, he or she is a bit flirty, but I don't mind because at the end of the evening, we come back together and we leave. If you've consented to that or you agree with that, be mindful. Is there any time that you suddenly think, oh, not sure how my partner held that shoulder. I'm not sure actually if I wanted them to dance even more than they were before. We have societal jealousy for a reason. The reason is because we can keep a real check on ourselves. What's happening to me while I'm not feeling okay and I normally am? So remember, trust and suspicion. When we have that suspicion, we need to say to our partner, I didn't feel as safe as I usually do with you tonight. I'm not sure what that is. I wonder whether we could talk about it. It felt like you were away from me too long, or it felt like you were really sort of close to this other person. And normally it wouldn't bother me, but it has now. The development of us can change throughout our life cycle. One thing we're okay with now doesn't mean we'll be okay with it later on. So we've got to talk about it. Then we've got the emotional cheating. It was just a friend. We're just talking as friends. It's okay. Nothing's happening. We're just talking of friends. So the cup of tea syndrome can take us to a different place. That friendship can turn into a sexual relationship very easily, because a friendship, as we know with our own friendships, can be so intimate. They can be so close, but we have to hold that boundary if they are a friend. So I do believe that people that are in our lives, people either sever people that they've had sex with and been with before as a relationship, because the person that they're with say you can't have anything to do with them. Okay, so there's an insecurity with that other person. I believe that actually people that come into your life who are important to you and they came into your life at that time and you hold that boundary and they are pure friends, they should be able to stay in your life. I would want anybody to dictate to me who I couldn't have it in my life. But you have to hold the boundary so tight. There can never be more than friendship. And this is why it gets really, really complicated, the complexity of friendship within a relationship, because you've got to be able to trust that other person, both of them at the same time. Then we've got the online interactions, and it's like, friends reunited, just saying something, then liking something on Instagram. If you get that feeling, maybe that was a bit too much. There was somebody a little bit undressed or a little bit provocative. I probably shouldn't have liked that. These are little micro interventions that we're doing on an affair basis. Nothing's really happening as in we're doing something, but it might be your partner's moral compass that says, I'm not happy with that. I don't like that. And then the big one for me is loyalty, sharing the partner's details, talking to somebody else about your partner's information. And this is done quite a lot. My partner's really moody. My partner's having an operation. My partner is got a family issue, and this is what it is. I believe that the loyalty that we need to have for our partner is that we don't share anything of theirs because it's theirs. If they want to come out and share it with everybody, absolutely, it's their information, but it's not your information to share. And this can be seen as a micro affair, because what we've got to remember is, what is the agenda of the other person that you're sharing this information with? So we can have two people, one really innocent, I can see you as a friend, maybe we're a work colleague. The other person, you don't know what agenda they've got. You don't know whether they're thinking. I can hear the insecurity of the female or male, the other side. Is there an agenda going on that actually I would be able to use this information in some way, shape, or form? What would it be like if you went home to your partner and go, just to let you know, I shared with my friend that this is what was happening to you today? I think there would be an argument. It is disloyal to share information about your partner without their consent. So let's look at digital work, okay? The reason people like it is because it's secret. It feels like you are just in this box with each other. It's unseen and it's unknown. It engages, or it can engage, on a deeper conversation on a different level. So there is a lust element to it, but in that box, you feel like you can say absolutely everything and anything with that person. It feels like, whether it is or not, it feels like there's less consequence to it, because you're not meeting that person. You're not actually sexually active with them in a skin to skin process, but you are with them. A lot of people also believe that there's less detection from it, which isn't true. Okay, we all have a digital footprint, but also recently, for couples and the distress that they've had, the people in these little boxes have come out and declared their love or their annoyance or their hatred for the person that's been in that box with them, and they've found it very, very difficult to come back from that in a relationship, first of all, because it's somebody else telling them the information, and then they're concerned that their partner wouldn't have given that up if they'd not been found out. And that's a really valid question. The ease of conversation is quick to seek out other people. It's quick to supply and reply. It's exciting, it's easy access, and there's more opportunities than we've ever had before. The temptation, the less effort, and online dating, sex and content availability heightens the intrigue. And remember, our arousal circuits are very, very much in tune with us being able to develop them in a way that gives us a little bit more. Okay, so we will flatline if we keep doing the same thing all of the time. And what we're looking for is more adventure, more difference, more opportunity to enhance that arousal system. So within that box, you might find that actually your behavior becomes more erratic than it's ever done. You will tell somebody that you love them when you're orgasming, and you actually might not, but that will be an impact on the other person. The emotional connection can be stronger, and it can give more connection than you think, even though you haven't met that person. But any infidelity, whether it's digital or not, can be really, really difficult to navigate after it's been found out. So what drives us to be having an affair? What takes us to that place? I've mentioned about mortality, aliveness, unmet needs. What is it that we're not being able to do in the relationship we've got now? Okay, so sex is the hardest thing, or it seems to be the hardest thing to talk about in a relationship. What is the difficulty that you're having as a couple with talking about your relationship? My question to all couples is, what does sex mean to you? That's the first question I would always ask. What does it mean to you? What does it look like? What would you like it to look like? Are you consenting to everything? Are you trying stuff and then being able to say, no, you don't want to do that anymore, it's not for you? This is a whole conversation that you need to have. So how do we have that? Couple work is about writing things down and being able to come and talk about it with therapy. This is what sex means to me. This is what infidelity means to me. This is what cheating means to me. This is what porn means to me. Okay, unless we have a conversation about this, we are in a zone of nobody would cheat on me. it's only when we get cheated on that we realize that we can get cheated on. And that, what I call differentiation, as you know, I go on about I all the time, is we realize that we actually are an island. We're an I. Who is that person to me? Who have I become while I'm with them? And actually, how am I processing me now? I feel like I'm totally on my own. I don't even know who this person is that I've been spending most of my life with. So the trust thing is very, very important with this. Talking to clients about trust, where does that sit? What micro indecisions are you making about trust? Are you telling those little white lies and, you know, carrying on with that? Does it feel like they are nothing? They are the symbol of something that you're sitting with, that you feel like it's okay, and the other person accepts it because they don't know any different. Let's be honest. Let's have an honest conversation about infidelity. Let's have an honest conversation. What would you do if your partner was having an affair and you found out tomorrow? What would you think? What would you feel? What would you be able to articulate eventually when you're able to come out of that grief cycle of disbelief, shock? No one can talk properly when they're in that. And in therapy, we wouldn't see people straight away. We give them time to actually develop that resilience to come back and go, right, okay, I've got to make some really good decisions for myself. And this in therapy is where the trust comes in. Coming into therapy is the radical honesty of saying, yes, I have had an affair. Yes, this is why it happened. I want couples to look back 5 years ago, what was happening to the relationship. There will be some sort of disconnect with the relationship, and there will be conversations that have been had. I'm feeling lonely. I'm feeling neglected. You're out all the time. I wish we spent more time together. They aren't actually really dynamic conversations. They are hinting conversations saying, I'm feeling insignificant. I'm feeling whatever it might be, but they are dismissed. And then you find yourself, both of you, in a situation where there isn't much appreciation, there isn't much reciprocity going towards each other, there isn't intimacy, and there isn't sex. And this can be sometimes, and this is not the reason why we should, but we go out and seek it elsewhere. And what we need to do is have a conversation with your partner and being able to say, right, okay, this is where I am with this. Okay. So trust is a cornerstone of every relationship, and it shapes every aspect of our personal and romantic lives. It's the one thing when we present this can create a deeper connection. Yet when trust is broken, it can shatter everything: love, loyalty, and the stability we seek in our relationships. Trust affects every intimate connection, whether it's with a partner or a friend or even a family member. It determines the depth of the emotional intimacy and the openness for communication, and your ability to truly connect with others on a meaningful level. And I know it seems like I'm going on about trust so much, but I don't think that we take it as seriously as we should. The digital world, or the digital age, has taken us to a place where actually are people on there telling the truth. You know, some of the AI stuff, some of the conversations that I've seen, I'm not sure whether they're real or not. I'm not even sure it's a bot or a real person. So I think the digital age has taken us to a new dimension completely. And I think that gives us the opportunity to fantasize even more than we were before. And thinking that actually this digital age is a secret. It's all out there. The footprint that we have, the opportunity for somebody to have a look and see where we've been and what we've done, the history of us, is so easy. So once the trust is broken, how easy is it to repair? And how often do people repair in relationships? So in my therapy sessions, couples are able to get to a place of understanding, and then they get a place of making a decision whether they want to find another relationship with each other. It won't ever be the same again. The one they had is not there anymore. The one we're trying to do is the script for this new relationship, and they've got to write that themselves. Affairs, for example, are a direct consequence of the trust being violated, but why do affairs happen? So is it a sign that there's something wrong in the relationship? I'm going to say yes to that, okay? But I'm not talking about wrong as in let's go and have an affair because there's something wrong in my relationship. I believe that there's a disconnect at some level. Okay. A lot of relationships, and it feels like, you know, we're believing that everyone's having sex. They are totally not having sex. Not many people are having sex. Not even young people are having sex. We have a new wave of people coming away from that sexual process because their careers are more important. Their love has gone towards their children, their family of origin. You're taking care of them now because they took care of you when you were a child. Whatever the reason might be, we are coming away from that deeper connection with our partner, and we think it's going to be okay. We build our empire and then we go, yeah, but can we just leave that bit out, the intimacy and the sex? And actually people are going, absolutely not. And I believe rightly so. We are not going to have a relationship. For me, it's friendship, intimacy and sex. That is the contract that we're signing up for. Now, I don't believe that if there's no sex within that relationship that we need to go off and have an affair. What I'm saying is what we need to do is actually have a conversation about, I won't be staying unless I can talk to you about the feelings that I'm having, like neglect, abandonment, rejection. These are strong core hard words, and a lot of that will have an effect from when they were a little child as well, not sexually obviously, but the feeling of being abandoned, neglected, rejected. These will be familiar feelings to them, and having that warmth. I don't want us ever to think that actually this is all about sex. It is about connection, it is about affection, it's about that principle. We are together. Okay, so when we talk about differentiation, we are the circle together. Okay, circle separately, choosing to be a circle together up the top. So what's our vision together? The vision now has been misaligned because the vision's gone off with somebody else. And that then makes the person who hasn't had the affair go, what was our vision? What was true? What wasn't true? What did we value? What did I value? Who am I now? What's my identity? There is so many questions to be answered, and they can't all be answered at once because it's so overwhelming. We can only process it one step at a time. So an affair can often seem like there are symptoms of a deeper issue. And like I've just said about neglect, unmet needs, emotional needs, but also craving excitement. And we'd like that. Some people say, I would have liked that with my partner, but I didn't know how to ask. Sometimes we're seeking attention to fill in the gap that's been left in the relationship we're already in. People may engage in affairs because they feel emotionally neglected, unheard, or unappreciated. Again, they can feel all that, but it doesn't make it okay to go and do something with somebody else. And I'm not judging. When my clients come in here, I am completely neutral because I think they're struggling, but both in different ways. And I think the aftermath of an affair is not calculated at all. And actually, when you're in an affair, you're not actually thinking about your family or your partner, you're in the affair. So I don't think the consequences of the affair is really seen until you have somebody on the other end that's found out and they're standing in front of you. So trust is something we need to build, and it's constantly in motion. In the context of an affair, trust can be rebuilt. I truly believe that. And it requires vulnerability, honesty, and willingness to do the hard work of understanding why the betrayal happened in the first place. Now, this is the bit that gets complicated. Why did I do that? Is it because I didn't fancy my partner anymore? Is it because I have no desire? My arousal within this relationship has gone. Is it because we become so practical? Is it because I become jealous of the children? Okay, and this is both ways. This is not gender specific. So we need vulnerability, honesty, willingness to do the hard work. Without this understanding, the cycle of hurt and mistrust, so the suspicion will continue. And what we're trying to do is alleviate the suspicion. Eventually, so my process is accepting that this has happened in your family between both of you. Then we're doing acceptance. No, we're not. We're doing acceptance first. Then we're doing forgiveness. And then we're doing trust. Trust is about a year away when somebody has an infidelity. If somebody tries to trust too soon, it's quite fake because they're looking for that safety aspect straight away. I want to feel safe, so I'm going to just trust and believe. It's fake, it won't last, because then they erupt again because they're trying to suppress how they're feeling. So couples, I want you to reflect on your own relationship straight away. I want couples to really think about, where are they in their relationship? Do an MOT. How do I feel? What do I want? What's unmet? What did I want as a child that I didn't get from my parents that I'd really want in this relationship now? How do I react in my relationship? How you react in your relationship will be how you reacted as a child. Okay, if somebody sulks, they will sulk now. If somebody acts out, they will act out. If somebody is quite dramatic, they will be dramatic as an adult. Think about that for a minute. Do we need to still stay in the same script when we were little in adulthood? Can we change that script? Can we find a place for communication that doesn't take us to a place of intrusion of child? Okay, can I hold that resilience for myself and be able to talk about, I'm not getting my needs met within this relationship? Okay, do I fully trust my partner to share the most vulnerable me? Can I communicate with my partner enough for me to be heard? And I see this all the time. I encourage that radical honesty to say, we don't want to hurt your partner, okay? But we do need to talk about 5 years before this happened. What was the disconnection? What was it that stopped you saying, I'm lonely? I'm actually really struggling to be here. I'm angry with this relationship. I'm feeling like there's nothing here for me. What stopped you doing that? So in a high trust relationship, we can have difficult conversation without fear of being misunderstood. And that's the word. We have a lot of fear in relationships. I'm fearful that there will be conflict. I'm fearful that I won't get heard. And in a low trust relationship, even the simplest exchange can be loaded with tension. And if we are, the response is really full of whether it's tension, anger, rage, we won't go back. We won't go back. I always say my analogy, I'm mad about Jack Russells. If you've got Jack Russells that are biting at your heels, you won't touch that dog again. You won't want to go near it. This is the same for relationships. How bitten are you getting when you're trying to share your vulnerability with your partner? Are you able to? And this is why we end up coming away and somebody goes, oh, you seem lonely. I get you. Should we just go for a cup of tea? And it's as simple as that, to be heard, seen, acknowledged, validated, that can start up this liaison with somebody else. So, trust is built not only through gestures, but also through everyday actions, the same as intimacy and sex, everyday actions. If you want a relationship to grow and flourish, you need to be able to actually have intimacy from orgasm to orgasm. Okay, we need to be mindful about saying, you know, a little text, I miss you today, or a little note in the fridge saying boo. You know, anything you can do to heighten that person's warmth towards the relationship. They're such simple things to do, but we neglect each other in many different ways. Being transparent and honoring the commitment with each other. So I'm not talking about marriage, I'm talking about partnerships. You're choosing to stay in this partnership, you're choosing this person. If for any reason that changes, we need to say, right, okay, I'm not happy. I'm not going to be okay for a while in this relationship. We need to find out why. Women, most of the couples in my therapy room are women saying that actually they don't want to have sex for a while. And in my world, being a woman, I want to find out why that's happening. What is it that they're doing? And for men, it's like, I don't want to go towards because of the rejection that I've had. So I've shut down too. So you've got two people shutting down for different reasons. Okay. And I'm very curious about that. First of all, the contract is intimacy and sex. So you're both coming out of the contract in different ways. How can we get you to see how important the contract is? Because the life that we lead needs to have the opportunity for a healthy sex life. So healthy body, you know, healthy food, all that sort of thing. But our sex life is really, really important to us. It is part of that muscle that we need to keep doing, you know, erectile dysfunction. We're talking about vaginismus. We talk about atrophy of the genitals. All of this is really important to keep this part of our body intact and doing what it needs to do. Self-pleasure as well as together pleasure is just so, so important. And getting partners to really talk about this together and that. Do they masturbate together? Do they look after each other? as usual, I'm going off topic slightly, which is usually me. Getting back to affairs. So first of all, okay, affairs are very, very painful. And we have, I think at the moment, it was 46%. So nearly half of relationships are having an affair in one way, shape or form, whether it's digital or person to person. And that's quite high statistics. It might have changed. I looked at that a while ago. So something is happening, that this is fundamentally going up and up and up in the way that we're living our lives. And I think environmentally and globally, there is a part of us that is thinking, what am I doing with my life? And that what do I want in it? And if you're in partnership, this is the conversation to have with your partner. So the differentiated you is the I. You've got your own circle. What does that circle look like? Okay, so if you're a couple and you're thinking, okay, my circle looks like this, my adventures, my curiosity, my kink, my whatever the words are for you as an individual. But actually, if there's part of you saying, I am feeling that my sexuality is too sexual, I'd like to be more bear with me, sensual, okay. It's not that you're cutting out sex, you want it to be different, and that's okay to say. I've got some couples who are saying things like, I feel like I'm coming into a different dimension for myself, so heterosexual, now feeling like I'm queer. So these are conversations that to be had. No one's going to go rush on off and doing anything at any time, because if you are with that partner and you're saying to them, I'm not sure where I am on that sexual template, because our sexual template can change throughout the years of what we like, what we don't like, our preferences, what we would like, what we'd like to go towards, what we'd like to go towards and not do anymore, what we'd like towards and integrate within our relationship. So I would say I'm doing more open relationships than I've ever done before. And it's because two grown-ups are coming to therapy going, we want to explore this, we want to have a look at this, because we don't want to go outside of this relationship and erode it. We want to actually work out what we need next with each other. And for me, there's such a maturity with that, being able to talk about that. And I want more couples to come and do that. Okay. Doesn't matter where it goes. What the point is that if you start talking about something, what we're doing is negotiating how that would look like. So let's look at trust is not just about forgiveness. It's about understanding and committing to the work necessary to heal. I love that word, healing. Okay. Without this effort, the affair is just a symptom of deeper wounds that remain unaddressed. So an affair can be something that actually you feel from a very young age that it was unmet. And in the relationship you're in at the moment, it feels like a mother and father or daughter and son relationship, and you're not getting your needs met. When you consider trust in your relationship, ask yourself, what do I need to do to be fully seen and heard? What would it take for me to trust my partner completely, and how can I contribute to that environment of trust? This is a two-way process. Are there small lies that I need to stop doing? And trust isn't built in one grand moment. It's built on an everyday choices with consistency, transparency, integrity on how do I want to live my life. So I believe, I would love to get out to the world that if we all looked at our value systems, we would start to trust each other more. We want a high trust relationship, not a low trust relationship. And the first thing with our value system is we start to trust ourselves. I trust me. I trust my decisions. I trust the decisions I'm making are the right decisions for me. In partnership, I want my partner to trust their decisions. And those two trust processes come together. So trust is the bedrock of any meaningful relationship. Without it, even the deepest connections will falter. So one of the reasons why is because infidelity means that I'm not trustworthy. Where did that message come from? Why did I go and do what I've done? I thought I was a trusted, honest, loyalty person, and they've gone outside the script that they ever thought that they would. And one of the things I want to find out is why that happened, what took them there, so that we can actually develop, let's not go there again, because the feeling for them is who have I become? I do not recognize myself. And the partner who hasn't had an affair looks at the person who's had the affair and go, I don't know who I am whilst I've been with you, because it feels like the whole of our life has been a lie because of this affair. So you can feel the magnitude, can't you, as it grows. And unfortunately, an affair is a community-based issue. It's not just the partners that are being affected by this. We then have the children and the parents, grandparents, the community that we've built is very important to take into consideration as well. So when I talk about trust and rebuilding it, I feel like it's an opportunity for real transformation for your love life. Okay. Actually have a conversation as a couple with each other and talk about, what does this look like for the next 3 years? Are we both aligned in what we're looking for? Have we switched off from each other? Do we need something to bring us back online? What would that look like if we needed to? I'm passionate about couples. It's not that I'm passionate about them staying together, but if there is such love there and their communication and definitely humor, there is something to be saved. And I do believe that if we can, as therapists, come into your lives and talk to you about such difficult processes that have gone on for you, such hurt, and trying to heal that part of you. And I've seen it in real time when couples come and see me and they have found that place of acceptance and they found that place of forgiveness, and the trust after a year is starting to build up. They talk about anything and everything. The intimacy, what I call pillow talk, is just phenomenal. And you can see their shocked faces going, I never thought that I would be able to just say what I want when I want. There is no more eggshells anymore, because this will be one of the hardest conversations you will ever have as a couple. And if you're able to have this conversation and you're able to heal from it, the opportunity is absolutely so vast for you to then go on and have the best relationship ever. So thank you so much for joining me, the people that have joined me. This will go on the Facebook page, like it always does. And I'm going to be doing part 2 in April, which will be recorded, and I will speak to you then. Is there any questions from anybody who is actually with me now? Have you put anything in the chat? No? Does anybody want to ask me anything? It's not a have to. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to